Hello guys, welcome back to our ADHD talk and Q&A. Sorry, I'm running a little bit behind. We had some technical difficulties. Facebook wasn't, I was here, but it wasn't showing the video. So today I wanted to talk about a topic that we touched on last week, and I said it might be a good idea to bring up next week. That's today, and that is the role of caffeine. I had a undergraduate professor who suggested that I start drinking coffee before exams. And the reasoning behind that is caffeine is a stimulant. So caffeine can help stimulate the ADHD brain and help us focus. However, her guidance was it actually isn't, you don't need a whole lot. I usually drink 2 cups of coffee now. But when I was in undergrad, it was usually just like half a cup because I didn't really like the taste. But one of the things that was important to note is how much sugar she said to put into it. She said, fight the taste, but just try to drink it black. And when I started doing that, among some other things that she had suggested, I started showcasing what I was actually getting from the class. Whereas prior to that, she could tell that I was not testing to my level of understanding of the material. One of the other things that she suggested, if you have young kids, was any kind of teas that don't have a lot of sugar in them. So get the no sugar teas, whether they're like iced teas or cold teas or just the hot teas. Green tea is good, and anything with a little bit of caffeine in it, or even chocolate, really dark chocolate, something like, I want to say 75% or higher of cacao in it will be really good for focus attention. So having some chocolate, making sure it's like real chocolate, not the chocolate you guys are going to get tomorrow, but the real, 75, 80% all cacao chocolate bars that you can get. That works. That's the caffeine in there. Or if you're older and you already are drinking caffeine, you're like, it doesn't really help me, or I bonk, or I kind of dip in my performance. You're probably adding too much sugar. So cut back on the sugar. I don't use sugar anymore. I put honey in it, and that sweetens it just enough. Plus, it's really good for all the allergies that we're having if you live in Roanoke. I know a lot of people are sick. So try that. Try cutting back on the sugar, and you will. It is an acquired taste, but you'll get used to it. And it's sort of one of those things of I have talked to ADHDers that are like, I just can't. I just don't want to have all that caffeine without any sugar in it at all. And that's, to me, that's not really a good excuse, especially when job performance or any kind of performance is on the line. It's one of those things of you kind of just need to suck it up. And clearly you don't want to get well as bad as coffee may taste. But you'll get used to it. There's actually a little bit of science behind that. You will get used to it, because caffeine because it's a stimulant, our brain will change how we perceive the taste. So we'll actually like it. Like our taste buds will change, and the idea of an acquired taste is actually a real thing, and it's actually a chemical thing that happens in our brain. So there you go, boom. Enough on caffeine. One of the things I want to talk about with you all today is exercise. And I know we talked about this probably on our first episode, but it's kind of a recurring theme with a lot of clients that I deal with, where it's fall and they may have been very, very active in the summer, and we may have had no issues in the summer. Or we saw a lot of symptomology kind of decrease in the summer months. And then now as it's getting colder, they're not going outside as much. Or they're not playing sports because it's getting colder, or they're not, like fall sports vary depending on where we live, or the schools that we go to. These symptoms are coming back. And it's kind of like, I thought we were better, and now these things are happening again. And for a few of my clients, we really kind of sat down and looked at what is really going on and what's what has changed over the last month or two. And for all of the clients that I asked that to, what we found was there was a very intense level of exercise that's not there anymore. And so all these symptoms are kind of coming back up. Sleep becomes an issue, focus, sustained attention becomes an issue, acting out or behaviors in school or at home become an issue, an ability to regulate our like explosive anger that we can sometimes have kind of goes out the window. So this is just my PSA to you all that yes, we as a society, we know that we need to exercise more, but for the ADHDer, exercise is literally the easiest, safest, and best medicine that all of us can afford to do, and we actually can't not afford to do it. It's the lowest hanging fruit for really all Americans, but because I'm talking to you ADHDers, it is the best thing for you guys to take advantage of. And it can be anything. If your son or daughter likes playing soccer or football or swimming or wrestling or whatever, let them do that thing that they really enjoy, and you will see the benefits. And if you don't think that exercise plays a role in your child or your own life, try not exercising if you are an avid exerciser, and just see how many weeks it takes for the wheels to start coming off. I know for me, after about 2 weeks, I have trouble falling asleep. I get really restless at night when I get into bed, and my ability to sustain attention is almost non-existent, and my ability to regulate my anger or my frustration or just snapping at people is that my ability to do that is lessened. So literally exercise makes me a better person. So find what you love and do it. Find what your child loves and encourage them to do it. So if anyone has any questions about anything that we talked about today, comment below and I'll get it today or next time we talk. The one question that I missed from last week, we ended it and I think they posted it after that, was a question about whether or not there is a connection between ADHD and autism or autism spectrum disorder. I think this is a really good question, and I think it's one that a lot of people are debating I think some people are debating that they're the same thing, and they're absolutely not. And I think some people are saying they're in the same family. They're absolutely not. But I think the issue that causes so much confusion is there is some overlap, and both issues are neurological issues. Both issues are issues of the brain, things not firing, chemicals not being produced as readily as we or normal people or neurotypical people produce these chemicals. And they're different, and they present differently. I think the issue that we run into a lot is, at least what I see in my experience is, a PCP diagnoses ADHD and the psychiatrists diagnose ASD or autism spectrum disorder. And of course, no one's communicating, because why would you communicate? And then this child goes and is being treated for both of these things, when I would say, in kind of my limited expertise, but not really, that it can always be better explained by one or the other. And so if we have the very classic stereotypical behaviors in ASD, a lot of times those also mimic the ADHD behaviors. So if they're doing those stereotypical ASD things, then it's ASD. And if they're doing the classic ADHD things, it's ADHD. And that's an oversimplification, but by and large, what is happening is too many cooks are in the kitchen, and none of them are communicating. So if you do have a child, and I have had this conversation with a few parents who have emailed or called the office and said, my child has ADHD and ASD, can you help? And I always get back to them and say it can be better explained by one of these things. And if it can be better explained by ADHD, then absolutely, I'm happy to help. But if it can be better explained by ASD, then I'm happy to refer you to the specialist that can best help you with the ASD. But it's very rarely both. So great question. If you guys have any other questions, comment below or in the Facebook posts that I post, and we'll get those answered next week. But if that's all you guys got, that's all I got for you. Hit me up if you have any other questions, comment below, and I'll get back to you. All right, guys, thanks for staying in. Talk to you later.